YouTube. Tone back with another one for you. So this one here, check it out. This is called a writ of habeas corpus for illegal restraint of your driving privileges. So this is something that, and I never even did file this into the court, but I put all this shit together. I mean, you saw the other thing stamped by the court. I was in the middle of doing that, and the chick was devastated and all that, and I was just like, you know what, just give it back, because I had a court date in a couple days after that anyway, and when I went to the court date after that, I was the last person that they called, and this is how it's always gonna be when you go file documents like this. You're gonna be the only person in there. So I was the only person in there. There was two, whatever you want to call them, judges or whatever the hell that they were, but they would just have regular shirts on. They didn't have that black dress on, so I would assume that they were operating as a chancellor at that point, right? Because you can have them do that, and so that's what ended up happening. But this is all awesome shit here, and so they know that you mean business when you go and start filing this shit. They can't deny a writ of habeas corpus. This is something that has to be heard, and so I called the Supreme Court clerk. I was like, "You guys ever heard of this? The writ of habeas?" And I mean, you guys should get in the habit of doing that too. If you think that any of this shit is fake, by all means, call up a court clerk and ask them about this shit. I mean, they don't have a problem telling you about it. I mean, that's what they do. So she's like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, all right. So I'm like, so why can't I just go right to the Supreme Court? She's like, because you got to start in the court that was charging you. She's like, do that, and then you get your license back by the time you get to the Supreme Court. So if they're taking your license because of fines, fees, shit like that, they cannot do that. They have to have a hearing to see if you can even afford to pay the fines and fees that they're charging you. And if you can't pay them, then they can't fucking charge you the goddamn fees and fines, because they can't take away your livelihood if you're not what is it, a threat to the public. If you're not a danger to the public, they cannot take your driver license like that just for fines and fees. And that goes with the Supreme Court memorandum that I have here too. There's the video there, Supreme Court memorandum to all courts. Check that out. And you're gonna file that in conjunction with all of the stuff that you're gonna see here. So the next five videos that you're gonna see here, and you send all that shit in there together, right? With your clerk demand, stamp it all. That's gonna be your evidence. That's gonna be your fucking defense, right? So this is what you're gonna be using to argue with these people, or not argue so much as put them on notice. And so once they get this stamped and you got your certified copies from the clerk stating that they received it, I mean, you're probably not gonna have any problems at all. But so even if they deny this shit, which they may, right? Then you just go to the next court. Then you go to the Superior Court with it, boom. And if they deny it there, then you go right to the Supreme Court, and you get all your shit back, and then you'll be able to go back and collect all the fees for time and money wasted on dealing with these assholes to begin with. So right here it says the trial courts of Massachusetts. We got Lowell, State of Mass versus yours truly. Notice of petition, writ of habeas corpus, driver's license restrained without due process. Writ of habeas corpus is for the restraint of liberty to operate a motor vehicle by suspension of driver's license without due course process proceeding. It is the intention by this notice of demand writ of habeas corpus for the redress and remedy of an unconstitutional act by the respondent causing the, and what do we got here coming up? So regarding the unlawful restraint of liberty to pursue livelihood by suspension of driver's license, restraining the undersigned right to operate a motor vehicle. The unconstitutional act of restraining the privilege of operating a motor vehicle, which the Supreme Court of the United States has held is a privilege essential to the pursuit of livelihood, and the restraint of this privilege cannot occur unless by due process consistent with the 14th Amendment. The undersigned should not be restrained of liberty unless a hearing was held proving the undersigned petitioner had the financial ability to pay a court-ordered debt. The writ of habeas corpus is not solely for a liberty of physical restraint as held by the Supreme Court of the United States, Meyer versus Nebraska 262 U.S. 390, Supreme Court 1923. Liberty denotes not merely freedom from bodily restraint, but also the right of the individual to contract, to engage of any of the common occupations of life. You have the right to contract unlimited, because people cannot get in the way of any contracts that you have. They can't. And so to be real, you don't even need a driver's license to do any of that shit. It's only if you're going to be traveling out of state, interstate commerce. That's what you would need a license for. But for that's why your license is, if you're from the states or any country, you know that your license is valid in all the states, even if you have it in one. How could that be if it was not a federal thing? So the feds deal with the interstate commerce only, and unless they contract with these courts, which they do, because the courts take federal money, so therefore they're subject to the federal laws. Even though they like to act like they can do whatever they want, they really can't if they're taking money from them like that. But if you're traveling within the state, if you have a business within the state, you don't plan on doing any interstate commerce, you do not need a fucking license. You don't have to register your car, your vehicle, none of that, because you're from there. You have birthrights and all that. These people are not gonna. There's nothing that these clowns can go write in a book that's ever gonna take away your God-given divine right to do whatever the fuck you want, as long as you cause no harm. Really, that simple. Do no harm. That's it. There is no. If there's no harm, then there's no foul. It's really as simple as that. So that's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.